The views and opinions expressed in this podcast by the host or the guest do not necessarily reflect the views of Paranormal Buzz Radio or its sponsors. Use of any material produced by Paranormal Buzz Radio without express written consent is strictly prohibited. For information on everything Paranormal Buzz Radio has to offer, visit our website, paranormalbuzzradio.com. Like us on Facebook, follow us on Twitter and Instagram. Listener discretion is advised.
I think I've always believed in the paranormal, but the deeper I get in this field, the more questions I uncover. I started a program called Seeking the Paranormal in an effort to gain insight and dialogue from others interested in the same things as me. And while we've learned a lot together, the questions still remain. So I'm bringing my thoughts to the airwaves, and I've brought along my friends, Adam and John, to share in the fun. Together, we'll tackle the tough topics and debate the evidence as we continue to seek the paranormal. All right, welcome back.
Oh, we on?
Yeah. For episode 12 now.
Dozen.
Yes.
12.
Yes. I know, every time we get another one in the bag, we act like we should get an award.
We should.
I think the one person listening to this should send us a present.
No, Shay and Darren both.
Oh, two. Two people. All right, you guys can split it then. 50 cents a piece.
And I think Nico listens, so.
Get a life, Nico. You're young yet. You can do it.
You're probably all rethinking your decision to listen to this podcast right now.
Oh, come on, it's Thursday night. What else you got to do on a Thursday night?
That's true. That's true. Well, by the time this comes out, you will have already spoken at the Granger House last week.
I did?
Yeah.
Was that good?
I don't know. I'm excited to find out, though.
I recorded it, so it'll be fine. We'll watch it later.
Have you guys gotten together and talked about it at all?
We did. We went through the clips that we have. Of course, I've got to put them all together yet, but I've had family from Germany, so a little bit behind, but we'll have something. And then we kind of talked about a format of, we're going to try to do. So if anybody goes, please interact, because we're going to do question and answers.
Oh my gosh, I hope so, yeah.
And if you all just sit and look at us like we're stupid, then, which we are, but we don't need to be looked at that way. So have some courtesy.
And other exciting news, John's book is now available for order on Amazon. Will you have copies with you? Last week?
No, I already sold out last week. I've ordered 30 author copies from Amazon. Hopefully they'll be there in time, and if not, well, you can't have any unless you go to Amazon.
Well, there you go.
Hopefully they'll be somewhere.
Well, I'm very excited. I need to still have you sign my copy. I was reading it last night in bed, actually.
I can't write.
Well, you typed very nicely.
I did. But I can't write with a pen.
How about a Sharpie?
I don't know. I'll try it. Crayon, probably more mine.
All right.
We can do that. We have crayons laying around.
Got them.
So, Halloween season is upon us, and that, of course, is my favorite time of the year, which I assume you two probably like as well, because those of us that ghost hunt, this tends to be our favorite time of year.
I don't know why. Everywhere's full. You don't know where to go.
I know, but I love the fall. I love that the weather's changing. And I love scary stuff, and scary movies are my very favorite thing, and that's why I love this time of year. I shouldn't say we've never investigated around Halloween, because I'm sure we have at some point, but it's been a lot of years.
Yeah, most places are full or so booked up, and I'm not one that believes that the veil is thinner and all that
Oh my gosh,
stuff.
no.
So, we met up, and I said, I'm kind of getting itchy to go investigate somewhere, so we might be doing for on October 11th.
Oh, good.
Might. We're going to see. So.
That's a Friday?
No. Yes, it is. Yeah, we only do Fridays, usually, because of Nico.
Oh, he's got to work.
Well, yeah, he's got work, and then he gets the kid on the weekend.
Yeah, there's always something that, and usually, like, when my day's off for Sunday, Monday, and of course everybody else has normal days off, then it's, like, impossible to find a day to go investigate where somebody doesn't have to take time off. The joys of trying to plan things.
Or real life gets in the way.
Always.
So if you plan a ghost hunt, if you're young enough, don't have kids. They get in the way.
Right.
Yeah.
And they take your money.
Yeah.
Right.
All that cool equipment.
And they eat your food. And they don't clean up after themselves. Seriously, my child moved her bedroom downstairs, a month and a half ago?
Yeah.
Has my basement changed in the last month and a half?
Welcome to Seeking the Paranormal's Bitchin' Hour.
Yeah, right.
We're so glad you tuned in.
Seriously. So, yeah, moral of the story is, don't have kids. They just eat into that. One thing that, like, I'm in a bunch of Halloween groups on Facebook because I like to see what people are doing for decorations. And on my Halloween DIY group, there's a bunch of people from Europe that talk about how much they love this time of year, but apparently y'all don't really celebrate Halloween like
Not
we do
as
here.
much. No. I mean, British people, like my dad, if kids come knocking on the door, trick or treating for candy, what are you doing? Why are you begging? Go get a job. Stop begging. Bugger off.
They do go trick or treating now.
And put some proper clothes on. Huh?
They do go trick or treating now.
No, not really. It's not like over here. I'm sure some places kind of do, but no, it's not the same. Especially, I mean, the part of London now, you get knifed anyway. So, they got stuff. Get them. So,
nice. What American city would you compare London to?
I don't know. London's changed so much, and I haven't been back for a while, so it'd be hard for me to cast any kind of aspersions either way.
But there's bad parts, obviously.
Oh, yeah.
A lot
yeah.
of bad parts?
Yep.
Like most of it's bad part?
Well, I mean, not most of it, but I mean, London's got a massive knife crime problem, which...
Really?
It's bad. I mean, I prefer it over a gun crime because you can run away from a knife pretty good.
Yes.
You can't run away from bullets, and they've only got one knife and not a magazine of 32 knives. I know we're getting into politics. Sorry, Adam, but I'm just saying it's bad. In some places, and it was when I was a kid. So
interesting. So the whole damn place must be haunted, as can be.
Well, yeah. Well, Europe is where the history comes from.
I know. Sometime we'll get into that conversation because, you don't see ghosts of cavemen. Why is that? You don't see ghosts past a certain time frame unless you're in Europe, and then you can see them from, the Princes in the Tower from whenever that was,
and this is a plug for probably one of the best movies I've seen my entire life. Probably not the best, but one of. It's called The Man from Earth. It's like 5 people in a room, the whole movie. And the premise is, he's a professor, he's leaving, they get together, other professors, go on a away party. And he admits to them that he's been alive for like 40,000 years. And every 10 or 15 years, he moves on because people notice he doesn't age. And then they start questioning him because they're all professors. He's so good.
Really?
Yeah.
What is that? What year is that from?
I don't know. I think it's the 90s. It's called The Man from Earth. It's like an under-the-radar movie.
I'll have to look it up.
They kickstarted a follow-up movie, but the follow-up sucked. But the first one was really because, the art, the history, people, the professor was asking him things. And especially, like, the religious one. Did you know Jesus?
Right.
I'm not going to ruin the movie, but it was a really good film.
Yeah, I'll check that out.
All right. Anything else exciting going on in either of your lives?
No.
Okay.
No, not at all.
John, are you reading anything worth noting?
I haven't had time.
Oh my gosh. Look at us. We're quite the group right
Well, there is a curse which says, may you live in interesting times. If I'm not living in interesting times, I'm doing okay.
All right. Fair enough. Fair enough.
That is true. I guess it's good to be boring.
But I'm very good at it.
It's skipping.
Practicing.
Well, tonight's topic, we're kind of talking to those people who are maybe just starting out in this field, or maybe even just thinking about starting out in this field. Talking about, what you need to do to put your groups together, what you need to do, who to consider investigating with. Don't just investigate with anybody. I think you'll learn really fast that that's not a good idea.
No, we made that mistake the very first time we went on an investigation.
Yes.
We thought it would be a good idea to just investigate with some people. A friend of Sarah's from the past. That did not turn out well. There was a lot of drinking on their part and annoyance on our part. So we had some good experiences, I would say, but the drinking was bad.
Yeah. I think most paranormal people you talk to, they will have a general rule that there's no drinking or drug use before an investigation. I don't personally know anybody who doesn't abide by that. Just good to have your senses about you. Now, that said, a friend of ours named Gail gave us a proposition one time that we should do an investigation ship-based. And so we're going to do that. We just haven't yet, but I'm kind of excited about it, actually.
How shit-faced, though, on a scale of 1 to
well,
falling
not
over?
passing out.
Right, because that would be no fun. Did you see that? No.
I saw all kinds of things. I don't know what's real anymore.
And I don't think drunk. I shit-faced is probably
tipsy.
An exaggeration,
Yeah,
but yeah.
tipsy would be. You know what? I'd be open to that because your guard's down a little more, and you're more open to things when you've had a few beers. So, for example, you'll take the ugly girl home, things like that. So, I mean, that's an edit point. No, I mean, but you're more susceptible to stuff when you've had a few beers. I mean, I wouldn't like to do that as the norm, but it's worth an experiment.
Yes.
Oh yeah, it was all for data. I mean,
that's what I'm doing right now.
That's right.
Yeah, Adam and Jen are warming up, apparently.
Yeah, we're going to investigate later.
We're just getting refreshed, that's all.
Well, and so part of the reason why people say not to drink before an investigation is because you want to have not only your wits about you, but because sometimes it is very subtle things, and when you're drinking, you're not always the most observant.
Well, the buildings you go into are kind of unsafe, too. You don't want to be stumbling around there. Falling down the elevator shafts or
Absolutely. Whatever. But, as you mentioned, drinking enough to have a good buzz going. Maybe, yeah. And maybe some people who are a little less apt to admit that maybe they're experiencing something would start to admit that they were experiencing something. I don't know. It'll be interesting. I know that if you ever go on a public investigation or any of these group investigations, there are always people who have been drinking, it feels like. And they are always so annoying and so obnoxious. Don't be that person. Just don't.
Just say no.
Yes.
That's right.
Seriously.
If you want to get drunk after the investigation part is over with,
go for it.
Do it. Have fun. Enjoy your life. I don't want to take that away from anybody, but
it's mine. You can't have it.
So, getting your group together, and first, well, let's see. When did WTF get together? Are you guys just 2019?
No, it's a couple of years ago, I think. I can't remember.
Oh, you're just
we're
adopted.
A couple of years old.
Remember?
Yeah. No, I mean, I was with the founder members.
Oh, okay.
But, I mean, we haven't been doing it. I mean, some people have been doing it. Oh, we've been doing it for 20 years. Which is fine. That's great. But our idea is, we've done it intensively. We do, pretty much 1 month, every 2 months. So that adds up pretty quick.
Yeah.
It's a number of investigations. But, but we also, we try and do something new every time we go, I guess. Whereas, and I'm not knocking it, but I see a lot of groups, you watch their stuff, and they do the same old, time and time again.
But isn't that part of an experiment? Because we do the same thing.
No, it is if you're collecting data, but if you're not getting data off of anything for, 5, 6, 7, 8 times, I don't know. There's a cut-off, but, we try and, I don't know how to put it. So we have an idea in our head before we go in of, everything we want to do. And I'm not knocking other groups. I'm just saying that's how it's a bad word these days, but we try and be progressive.
Right.
But I mean, no, we just try and shake it up. And if we get an idea we want to try out, we'll do it. We'll think of new equipment or, so, yeah, and as far as, the groups go, I mean, I think you're right. The makeup of the group is important and that you all know what it is you're there for.
Right.
A lot of people are there for shits and grins, and that's fine too, don't take it away from anyone. But, depending on what your group's objective is, the makeup of the group is going to either help or hinder that.
Mm-hmm. And I think you need to figure out for yourself what you're looking to gain. What I'm looking to gain is not the same as what Adam and John are looking to gain, but that kind of is the reason why it's good for us to investigate together. I don't think you want a group of people who are all looking just to have an interview with a ghost, because you're going to miss out on a lot of additional things.
I think each individual person needs to have their strength. You got to have, somebody who really likes audio stuff. You got to kind of have somebody that likes video stuff. You kind of got to have a mixed bag of things. You're going to have people that like both, and that's great too, but if you've got a mixed bag of everybody, that's probably the best combination, I would say.
So, John, tell us when your group got together, how it got together, who you've got on your team, what they do. Kind of give us an overview of what your team is made up of.
Well, we got 4 members. Myself, Eric, Jeff, and Nico. We've all known each other. It started because Jeff asked me to go on one, and I thought it'd just be a great idea to go camping, basically, in an old building, and then watch people wind themselves up. But, stuff happened that I couldn't explain, so I guess that's where the idea came from. Okay, let's do this properly now. So there's myself, Jeff. It started off with another friend of ours called Ron. He's no longer with us.
What happened to Ron?
He got mad at us.
Oh.
Well.
Why? Now you gotta tell the story.
Well, he fell asleep. So I'm videoing and trying to put a video together, and I filmed him asleep. And I put on there the narcolepsy cam, and then him asleep.
I think that's hilarious.
Yeah, I thought it was funny too, but he didn't see the humorous side of it. He got mad, and I'm like, well, we're not just going to sit and...
No, and I don't know, Ron, but you don't want people that serious on your team
it's not
either.
just... I don't want a group that's uncomfortable with each other.
Right.
And it got that way where he was always, and we joke. I mean, we'll just, make fun of each other the whole time, but, he was a little thin-skinned, so it became kind of a problem.
Yeah.
So then when he said, and then we just didn't invite him anymore. I still like him, I still talk to him, but, when you're in a group, especially, you gotta remember too, like 2 a.m, you're all missing sleep, you get a cranky one in there. Everybody can get cranky really quick.
Mm-hmm. It'll bring the mood down.
Yeah.
Honestly, it could probably kill an investigation pretty quick.
Mm-hmm.
You get that one crabby person.
Yep. So,
So what do each of the members of your team kind of bring to the table?
So Eric is he wants an in-your-face kind of thing to happen. He goes in, and Eric's modus operandi usually is he'll go in, he's ready to go, and then by about midnight or something, he starts slowing down because he starts getting bored because nothing got thrown at him and he didn't get punched or anything. So Eric slept through a couple of investigations because we go mostly on a Friday. We work, so when he gets bored and, nothing's going to happen, and then he lays down, and that's fine. Jeff is a lot more, let's say on the spiritual side, he's a lot more willing to believe things that I want. He's got incredible hearing.
Yeah.
I'm serious. He
It's
can
ridiculous.
hear stuff, and he'll say, I'm hearing something, like when we're in the Granger, really early in the morning. What's that? I'm like, what? He'll be looking and his head will be turning. All of a sudden he'll go, oh no, it's just a car coming. I'm like, I can't hear a car. And then about 10, 20 seconds later, I'll start hearing a car. I'm like, can you hear that? You got like spidey senses or something. So, yeah, Jeff brings that. So he's fun to investigate with. Nico is also, he likes to believe stuff, which is a good counterpoint for me because I'm a lot more skeptical that can bring the tone down. But they're, pushing it forward with, or it could be, which makes me have to think about it. And then, so, I pull them back, but they pull me forward, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
So, it works out pretty good. And as I say, we make fun of each other. And, we're serious when we're doing experiments, but you can't be serious the whole night. You go mad.
So were you all on the same investigation at Edinburgh and just said, let's continue doing this? Or how did you all decide, let's be a group?
Yeah, I actually had fun doing it. And then, like I say, stuff happened, I was like, and then I kind of got curious as listening through stuff that was going on. And there was one part where I could hear something actually getting thrown in the pool room, where the pool table is. And I know there was no one in there. And then, I heard the voices on the stairs with Ron, and we were both kind of non-believers. We just came out and went out. So, that kind of hooked me and pulled me in. And that allowed me to make that little adjustment of ghosts could exist. Before that, I was like, no such thing. People wind themselves up.
Yeah.
But I was like, wait a minute, this is me now, and I know what I'm hearing. So, it could very well be, a very improbable bounce of sound or something from a radio. I know, but the chances of that, happening, so the improbability kind of snagged me in, and I'm like, all right, let's go do this and see how often things that are improbable happen, and if they happen too much, they're not really that improbable, or might be a ghost.
Yeah.
So, that's what. So I decided, I went out and bought, the basic kit. I mean, we didn't know how to do it when we started. I mean, it was the same as, the one I kind of tried to model on was taps, because those seem halfway reasonable. Mm-hmm. And, bought like the EMF detector, took it from there. And then since then we've been, the stuff we catch, we think about it. Okay, how is this possible? How would it be possible? What do we need to look for next time we go? And just keep gathering data. Mm-hmm. And then sit down and see what we've got, match it to what we've got before. Are there any patterns?
So the way C got together, and I may have my years off. After about 5, everything just starts to run together. But I took a class, we've talked about it before, I took a class at Kirkwood, which is the local community college here, called Ghost 101, I think is what it was called. And that gave me a very basic, I guess, overview of paranormal field, investigating. Like I said, we talked about colors of orbs, so that tells you kind of what kind of class it was. But I really liked it. And at that time, Ghost Hunters was really kind of building steam. And Adam finally saw the Lighthouse episode, St. Augustine Lighthouse episode. And so he was wanting that. That is exactly what he wanted.
Well, I went into it kind of like Eric does initially. I want something to slap me in the face and drag me down the hallway. That's the first place we went was Farrar, right? Mm-hmm. That's correct. Yeah, so I was like, yep, something's gonna grab me and drag me in a room, and, no,
might even be a ghost.
Yeah, it might be. Or it might have just been Sarah. Excited.
Doubtful. Let's just put that out there.
I gotta try.
That's why you want to do the drunk one, isn't it?
Yep. So, I've since wrangled myself in a little bit.
So, at the time I worked with a girl named Chandrell. And, Chandrell and I are still friends, we just don't work together any longer. And so, she showed interest when I was taking my class. And so, when Adam kind of was getting excited about it, Chandrell said she would go. I had some friends who live in Newton, which is very close to Farrar, and they were going to go and said that the 3 of us could take along, and that's kind of how we got started. Ended up, I don't remember how or why Chandrell talked to her dad, Kerry, and he ended up wanting to come, as well as her sister, Mikayla. I'm glad that they did, and they are both great attributes to our team. They were so it was the 3 of us, and then a guy we work with, Josh, who, as far as I can tell, just lost interest in the paranormal. And he was never, he's definitely got interest, but he was young enough that he was worried about his friends thinking if he was cool or not. And, he didn't like to be tagged in our stuff because his friends would make fun of him. So that's just kind of where he was, and that's fine. He had a good time with us, and we enjoyed investigating with him. It's just, he chose to go another way, and that's completely fine, and we still really like Josh. But after the 4 of us, that's when Kerri and Mikayla kind of came on. Mikayla, we talked about last week. She's kind of our ghost whisperer. Every piece of photographic evidence pretty much that we have came from Mikayla. I don't know, they show themselves to her as far as, that's the best explanation I have. We talked about the cat picture last week. I've got another one this week that Mikayla took that we'll talk about for our picture of the week. Kerry is our engineer, so he is our questioner. Beyond that, though, Kerry just brings his own dynamic to the group, and I like it a lot. We talked about the flashlight communication with the mag lights. This man gave an entire night of his time. What was it, like 4 to 8 hours? I don't know, somewhere in there.
Ridiculous. I think it was up around 8 hours.
Dedicated an entire night to sitting there staring at mag light flashlights, testing if they would go on or off by themselves without, encouragement or, because some people say it's the heating and the cooling of parts and whatever, expanding whatever. And he wrote up a whole report on it. I have it if anybody wants to see it, read it, whatever. But, without that, we would just be doing an experiment. But now I know that Kerry has actually spent the time testing the theory, and I feel comfortable doing it. Not everybody agrees with that experiment, but Kerry's done his best to work it out. I feel confident in his work. So it's definitely good to have him on the group. Now, being an engineer like he is, we were at Beatty Mansion last summer, 2 summers ago. I don't know. Whatever. Within the last 2 years, we were at Beatty Mansion. Van saw a pair of ghost legs walking and questioned the shit out of it. I mean, and we spent a good probably 45 minutes trying to figure out what he possibly could have seen, trying to recreate it, nothing. And instead of just, look, maybe I had an experiment, he just continued to second guess it. So a little bit like John, science shit to death. Kerry has a tendency. But
it was over the top, because even after we had set everything just like it was when he saw the legs. I mean, he said all I saw was legs walking across this porch. And to kind of set the scene, there's a porch, there's like a little dip in between 2 porches where the building kind of curves in, and then there's another porch. And he saw him on the other porch, and it was way darker on the other porch than it was on the porch we were on. And we did everything we could to set it exactly like it was, and could not recreate it. But yet he still... Well, but it could have been what? It could have been what? I don't... At some point, you got to just be like, okay, that was weird.
Yeah, and I'm not... I mean, I won't kill myself trying to debunk something because...
Not true.
That is true. I'll think about it. It'll simmer away, but I won't make it my life mission to debunk it, apart from... There are some things that I will say they can't be true, but if someone in the group has an experience, we'll talk about it. If somebody captures it, I'll analyze the crap out of it. But here's the thing: objectivity goes both ways.
Here's the thing.
Hashtag, I did it, didn't I?
There you go.
Hashtag, here's the thing: copyright, all rights reserved. Send me money if you use it. .com. So, objectivity goes both ways, which I've discovered. So if I'm really just blinkered and trying to shut everything down, I'm not being objective. I've got to learn when to stop. Which some things it's hard, because some things I just know they don't work the way some people are saying that they do. And I'm trying to find out, okay.
Well, how do you feel? Let's talk. I don't mean to interrupt. How do you feel about the flashlight experiment? And I should say, we start with them off. Some people start with them on, and I don't know what the benefit is of either way. We tend to start with them off, which to me, and I don't.
The question has to be that I have the flag against them that I have is, why do you have to monkey with them so that they're barely on or off. Why can't you just say, turn it on?
Well, and that's a great question.
You know?
And actually, we had one that you push at the end.
The red click light that...
At Edinburgh. That came on.
No, that was at the hospital in Ohio. When we were sitting in that room.
Oh, Edinburgh was my radio.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so yeah, at St. Joseph Hospital in
Lorain, Ohio.
Lorain, Ohio, yes.
Mm-hmm.
So we had one that has the bump on the back to turn it on. And that sucker came on by itself.
Now that to me is good evidence.
That was crazy.
That you have to, and I'm not
That's
saying
fair.
But when people have to get it just right, it's like, why are you thinking with it? Because what you're really doing is you're creating, something that could go off on its own. That's my opinion.
One thing that I will say that we have tried to do is, you get them to the point where they're off. Mm-hmm. And I always try to go just a little bit more, and generally I'll shake it to make sure that it won't come on just by shaking it.
But why do you have to do that?
To make sure that it's not going to come on.
No, but why do you have to do... just put it together normally, turn it off, and say, can you please turn that on?
Well, here's hashtag. Here's the thing.
The dollar's
on the table.
Yeah. My word.
All right, I'm going to give you my theory on it, and you can be like, you're an idiot.
No,
I don't care.
That I will never say, unless you actually are.
Well, no.
Which I know you're not.
No,
so you'll say.
I mean, it depends on the day. So, we talk about all the magnetic and everything else. Well, that magnetic is only going to be so strong.
Mm-hmm.
Well, don't you think that they could use that to make that connection? But if you spread it out too far, they're not going to be strong enough to make that connection. You're not going to have enough power.
I can see. So what you're saying is they use themselves to short it out.
Yes.
And pull. Okay.
So they can take their hand. I mean, theoretically, in my mind, I've never seen one do this. I mean, don't get me wrong.
But that's what I like. If you give me, okay, this is how it works, or this is how we think it works now, so I can go away. I've got some LEDs that, I have to put a resistor between them because even a 1.5 battery will blow them.
Yeah.
So I can get those LEDs on a breadboard soldered with small contact.
Let's do that.
Let's do it.
And then just see
if it can.
Yeah.
See if it can make an.
You don't need a touch light and screw with it, and the housing as well. Has something to do. So if you just make something that's got a very small clearance.
Yeah, let's totally do that.
And then you're doing the same thing.
Well,
I would not disagree with that.
You're taking away the expansion, the shrinking, what's happening.
By the way, when you accidentally put too much voltage and amperage to one LED bulb, it smells really bad.
I don't know. It's in my workshop. That smells bad anyway. One LED ain't going to change it.
I've accidentally done that. It was a really bright flash, and it smelled really, really bad. I was like, whoa, damn, what the hell?
Oh, no.
The thing about the flashlight experiment that has always been really interesting to me, too, and I don't want to spend a lot of time talking about this, but I'm just going to throw that out there, is that a lot of time, the intensity of the brightness will adjust as well. So it's not just an on and off thing. It's like you can watch the intensity of the light get brighter and then back off and then get brighter. And whatever. I'm excited about I think we should totally do that. But
yeah, I can build those in a day. Easy.
And I didn't mean to take us off on a tangent there. I was just curious. And now I don't even know what you were talking about before I interrupted you. I apologize.
Groups.
Well, obviously, but what specifically?
So we had put
groups using hokey flashlights.
No, that was not it.
How we were going to put our group together.
Yeah, and that the equipment guy tests the equipment to death.
Kerry.
And and I was
saying, he's just very thorough about what.
Which is good.
Yes.
But I have no 8 amps on a maglite.
Dude,
not knocking it.
He's like legit.
I wouldn't have the patience.
And then there's Chandrell and I, and we just walk around doing EVP sessions and whatnot. We don't bring a whole lot to the team.
It's nice. I mean, the thing is, though,
you have no estrogen on your team.
Sorry, I'll wear a patch. If I start growing boobies, though, right? But I mean,
then you want me to.
It's a fun it's a fun thing to do. I mean, so with me, as long as we get on and we have a good time, that's important. Because if we weren't, I wouldn't be doing it.
Yeah.
So that's number one. And then, after that, you try and see what the dynamic of the group is and try and play to the strengths and, pick up on the weaknesses. So I think, a group composition, if you can, always have a guy that knows physics and electronics. And the stronger they are, the better they'll be, because, other groups don't have to. I'm not like the Great Dictator, but it'd be nice to have a theory formed. If ghosts, it's all fine saying that they all belong in another realm, but if they're actually doing something, they have to interact with the physical world, and it's nice to try and have an idea of how could that happen.
Well, and if you can't find somebody who's interested who knows physics, then start reading. That's the one thing I think that irritates me is these, and I don't mean to knock other groups either, because, if you're doing it just for fun,
yeah, it's fine.
Super. I do not, honest to God, I'm not trying to, down talk you at all, because you should be doing it just for fun. But, if that's what you want to do. But the groups who think that they're doing something to gain something, but then don't ever do research, don't read anything, just take TV for what it's giving them, that's the shit that irritates me. People who, and I know I've probably killed this to death over the last 12 episodes, but people who watch the shows, and for example, Malvern Manor, just because it's close to here, now go in there and they're looking for Inez and whatever the other lady's name is, because that's what Paranormal Lockdown and Josh Hurd told them was going on at that place. When, if you did your real research, you would know that Inez didn't die there. Doesn't mean she's not there, but didn't die there. And the other lady was never in existence.
Gracie? Is that the one you're talking about?
Yeah, Gracie. Do research on what people are giving you.
People don't do enough of? When they go somewhere like Edinburgh or Malvern, they never ask the question, is it haunted? It's like,
they just assume. You're right.
They never go in there and investigate, okay, this place is supposed to be haunted. Let's see if it is. They don't. They go in and they've already got the backstory, and then they'll start looking for what type of ghost it is, or can they get the name that they're listening for. And obviously with pareidolia, you're going to get whatever's in your head will come out eventually in a picture or in a spirit box session. I try and tell folk, our group, bring it down. And they're good at it. Actually, my group, I like it. We don't go there and say, okay, let's get, prisoners jumping off the railings at the squirrel cage or something like that. It's just, wonder if it's haunted. They say it's haunted. Let's go find out. We don't go in and say, yes, it's haunted. We always...
And I probably do. I probably do that too much. I do.
Well, you pay your money for it. That's the thing.
And then you also do your own research before we go to any place, too.
I do historical research.
Which I think is just as important. Because of the fact that when, I'm going to say when, because someday we'll probably go there. When we go to Malvern Manor, you know that those two people were never there. You know that story's wrong. So I think that the historical research is important to know what has happened in a building and what is true and what's not true.
Well, and as John points out in his book, murder does not mean this place has to be haunted. For our school's a great example. There's no deaths in that building, and yet people report all kinds of activity there. Wiedenberg Theater in Toledo, no deaths, but people, we, I guess we're the only ones who have investigated it, but we had all kinds of activity there. But back to John's point, if you don't have somebody who knows about physics, then start reading up on it. Start looking into theories. Shit, use YouTube. There's videos out there. We've shared some. Yeah. Of people who know a lot more than the rest of us who are giving you reasons why or why not.
Well, and it also helps you develop an idea for an experiment. Like we just talked about, the tabloids. if you're going to do, you don't have to do it that hokey way. If that's something you want to try and prove or see if it's true, if you can do it with an LED. It doesn't look as hokey. And people, if you start doing, my problem is, if you want to talk about this subject with the rest of the world, a lot of people that don't believe in it, as soon as they see you fiddling with that lamp, so that it's nearly going off, and then set it down somewhere, they've already written that off. It doesn't matter what that lamp does. In their heads, it's no, and that's always my flag. Why do you have to do that to make it do? And if you, like Adam did, if you say, well, I think it's because, it's magnetic energy, the poles can't be too far apart, otherwise it won't work. To me, that's feasible. And I'm objective enough to say, okay, so let's build something that's very easy to build and test that theory. Now, if you don't have an idea of how ghosts interact, it's very hard to do an experiment, and then you're just copying the hokey stuff. So it's just good investigating to actually break it down into, become a materialistic scientist, but about ghosts. Say, okay, how do they do it? Instead of being a materialistic scientist and saying, well, because I'm a materialistic scientist, ghosts can't exist. Say, well, no, let's say maybe they do exist, and then attack it the same way a scientist would, and break it down and say, how are they interacting with the physical world? So that's my idea.
What else do the two of you think would be a good addition to a paranormal team? Besides somebody who's willing to do review. That's another bonus for Kerry. He listens to Chandra and Mikayla and all three of their digital voice recorders, and I think he would do mine too if I shared them with him. I just am a Capricorn and don't trust other people, so I do my own.
True. She doesn't.
Some days that's the worst part, is the review. Especially when real life gets in the way. It's like, oh God, I've got to listen to 8 hours of 3 different digital voice recorders with 24 hours worth of stuff. And you actually have to listen too. It's not like you can just play it while you're doing something else. You actually have to concentrate on what you're listening. So yeah, that'd be nice if we could share it amongst the team, but our team, we don't. It's usually me, just because, I'm older, I haven't got kids, I don't got a life.
Yeah, Kerry and I are definitely the two reviewers, I would say, in our group. But to be fair, Mikayla is a manager for a retail store. She's very busy, and in fact, she doesn't really get to investigate with us much anymore because of that. And Chandra has a toddler, so she clearly has got her hands full, plus a full-time job. So,
yeah.
I think you need someone who is more. I think you need someone who's on the verge of skeptical, like John, who's willing to analyze it enough.
Let's pick a different word.
You said analyze, not analyze.
I don't know what you do in your spare time, but
you said I'm being anal about it. That was a Freudian slip.
Yes, fine. Who's willing to analyze.
I hate the word skeptic anymore because everybody uses it. Not because it's not a worthwhile term, but because it's being misused so much that I feel like we can't really use it anymore.
So, objective? Okay. Is that the word we use? How's that sound? Can we use that word?
It's on my book. You
right.
can use it.
We'll use objective.
That's not Dolly-O-Me.
Using all my words up. Going broke. You got Captain.
That's his bottle, isn't it?
No.
Oh, it's not?
No.
Oh, man. I wonder why it tasted different. I've been watering down my liquor.
The rupees were in the other bottle.
So I think you need somebody who's more objective, who will stop people from jumping to that conclusion. But I think you also need the reverse. I think you need someone who's willing to jump to the conclusion.
Yep.
To bring everything together. I think you need both to have a successful paranormal team. I truly do believe that you need both.
Yeah, that was the next person I was going to bring up.
Yeah, because if you've got both, then, and if you can get along enough, I mean, because there's some people that will just...
This is what I believe. You're attacking my belief.
Exactly. Yeah. Like, you're never going to change my mind. It doesn't matter what you say. I mean, you've got to be friends enough that you can sit down and have a conversation about it and work it out and come to an agreement on this is how it could have happened. You need to look at this, whatever the case might be. So those are two other people that I think you need on your team.
The thing I found as well, and this is just like human social dynamics, is if you have too many people that either are, less believing, or too many people that are, believe in pretty much anything, they feed each other. So you'll find that people, let's say people that have a strong bent on believing everything is happening as paranormal, they will feed each other and everything will be paranormal. And not only that, it will get worse and worse and worse and worse.
Yes.
If you have too many people that are like, it's probably not paranormal, and they're all together in a group, they'll feed each other and then nothing will happen. It doesn't matter what happens, they'll come up with an excuse why it's not paranormal. So, if you've got, like I say in our group, I got people that pull me forward where I'm overgoing, like, and then I sound stupid when I'm arguing with them. I'm like, do you know how improbable what I've just said is? Whether you believe in ghosts or not, if you don't believe in ghosts, okay, it's really improbable, but that's what's happened. Mm-hmm. But then when I say too many things that are like really improbable, I'm like, I'm killing it. I got to stop and just let it go and let the possibility be. And okay, that's good evidence. But that's how you get better evidence too. You have people that want to put anything out there. Oh, that was definitely paranormal. That's an orb. Or you get people going, no, that's dust. And I'm explaining that so we won't put that out there. But if they can convince another backwards and forwards, somewhere in the middle, you'll get better evidence, I think.
And the other thing that I think is important, the other role I think is important to have, is somebody who is organized and doesn't mind taking a leadership role. I, again, as a Capricorn, naturally just kind of take over things, and I don't always mean to, but...
She's bossy.
I am. And I do tend to be...
No, Jesus was a Capricorn. He was the leader of the 12 apostles.
That's true. Well, but I do, and my group they do tend to just wait to see what Sarah tells them to do. Not in a bad way, but
sometimes it might be in a bad way. Sometimes we're like, would you just tell us what you want us to do now?
But I think it is important to have somebody who is organized, because without organization, it's just chaos. And that goes back to our first investigation. And your first investigations, if you haven't gotten them out of the way already, I think are probably later down the road, you're going to go, oh my God, that was such a hot mess. And even at the time, we kind of knew it was kind of a hot mess while it was happening. And it shouldn't be like what it was. We had some really cool things happening, but it was not anything that remotely looks like what we do today. We were basically just walking around the building.
We were crazy people walking around in the dark.
Fun though, isn't it?
It is.
With a camera that had night shot vision. Like, I can't see a damn thing.
Come on, you were filming the darkness of night. That's what it meant.
That's exactly what we were doing.
You could definitely tell it was night when you played it back.
It was definitely night.
Yeah.
So, do you guys have a general way that you do your investigations, or do you guys just kind of wing it based on how the building feels?
A little bit of both. We go in there with an idea of what we want to do most of the time. We'll have a meet up before we go, or we'll talk about it in the car on the way up, that kind of thing. And once again, it's the history of the place. If it's our first time there, we shotgun it. We'll just go around and shotgun everything. Like for the hot spots, okay, yeah, we'll concentrate a little bit on the principal's office and in the boiler room. But, we have to first think, is this place haunted, or is someone just making a living? Mm-hmm. So we kind of shotgun stuff and see what we get. And then, because we don't know, because we're just shotgunning, that first visit is always just a little bit of everything everywhere. And then when we've done the review at the end, the next time, and this is why I like keep going back to places and going back to places and going back to places, because whatever we got, that gives us a little bit of structure on what we're going to do the next time. So, for example, the first time we went to the Farrar, we got like the best EVPs on the upper floor by the auditorium. And so the next time we went up there, we made really sure that we were going to put, our best recording software around there. And then we thought, it's a school. A lot of stuff happening outside. They get let outside for recess and this and that. So when we went for smoke break, when we went out, we actually took recorder with us, which normally, and I don't know why we don't do it, we just don't do it. When we step away for 20 minutes or something, we actually step away. Otherwise, you're always doing it, and it gets old all night. So we just step away when it's... But for our, we actually took one outside, and we got a really good EVP outside while we were smoking that was actually interactive. It was one voice said, "Did they hear us?" And then right after that, you hear, "Uh-huh." So it's like, whoa. So, it's... That's how we do it. I mean, Edinburgh, we know, for example, the Ghost Theater went absolutely nuts last time. So next time we go to Edinburgh, and it's always around the stair areas that we hear footsteps, or it's always close to the stairs where we hear that kind of stuff a lot. I mean, we hear stuff all over the place, but we try and, with experience, okay, around the stair area, that's where we hear things more often than not. So that's where we're going to concentrate some of our... and the ghost feeders were, that was actually a little bit scary. Yeah. I did almost did a turd upgrade to my underwear. But I was like, oh, this can't be real.
We got Eric pretty freaked out that visit,
too. Yeah, and he's the one that, I'm not scared. I want it to,
Until he's in a room by himself.
Yeah, yep. And he was convinced there was something behind him. There's something in here with me. I've had enough. I'm leaving.
And obviously, like I said at the beginning, you kind of need to figure out for yourself what you're after. For me, I just want communication. I want audio communication. So I understand that a wrist recorder should not be my primary recorder because I'm constantly hitting it and rubbing on it, and there's a lot of interference with it. But I do try to wear one and let it run the whole time. Now, I just got a pendant one that I can wear around my neck, too. And that one I tend to hit less. But
that picks up your breathing more.
It doesn't, actually.
It doesn't?
I was surprised. It does not. And I couldn't hear my heart on it either, which I thought for sure I'd be able to sometimes. But have a secondary recording device that you can just run. Because in situations like that, like the first time we went to a farm, when we were outside, there was a definite feeling outside that front door, and we were really freaked out. And it would have been nice to have a recorder running because maybe we would have had a similar interaction to what you did. But if you always have a secondary, just something running with you, in the case that something like that happens, you'll have it. That's my 2-cent advice.
Which is really sad. My thing is, we've got X amount of digital voice recorders. We set them up and we let them run all night, whatever area they're in. I got a wrist one now, which I carry. And the bumps, I'll be honest with you, the bumps and the knocks, I know what they are right here.
Of course.
So I don't care about them too much.
It's just sometimes when I rub them, I can't hear obviously what was just happening because my shirt's rubbing on.
Yeah, but without it, you would have heard it anyway. Right. So, I think it's more the wind than the loss, but the thing is, my feeling is that I'm the poor bugger that's got to go through it all. So if everybody wears a wrist recorder, they're not going to go through it. And then all of a sudden you're adding, if we're there for 8 hours and 3 people have got it, there's another 24 hours of audio. There's no way I'm going to get through it.
Now, I will say I don't offer to listen to anybody else's audio.
But then you miss stuff if they don't do it.
I understand that, and I guess thankfully for us, Kerry listens to most of the other ones. Adam doesn't carry one. He does his camera, and he rarely reviews that, and that is on him. But usually wherever he is, I am, and...
Could have kept the night vision one minute if you're not going to look at it.
Exactly.
Now, let's not say I've never looked at stuff. I just sometimes don't.
Sometimes always don't.
Well, that's why we quit doing we used to have like 6 security cameras to a DVR. Mm-hmm. That's just too much to review. I can't do it. I mean, it's nice. And I was wondering, actually, I was thinking of putting an ad out there for somebody that kind of likes doing that stuff. And, you know, if they can't go on the investigations, just say, okay, here's our stuff, go through it and send us anything. That's kind of a dick move, though, as well. You know?
I think you would have to probably compensate them somehow.
Well, as long as they compensate me for going.
I mean, I had a friend of mine.
I was expecting that to go way different.
How are you? You're going to bring down the tone again, aren't you? And then try and blame it on us. Look,
right.
This is what they were going to say. Well, I know,
because we all know where that was headed.
You thought I was going to say, "Oh, I'll compensate them."
Yeah. Right. See, that's what you thought, but that was never going to happen.
I don't think I said that.
We were being serious.
No, you were leading it in that way, though.
I did
not.
not.
Down the rabbit hole, and you did not.
Very subtle. Very
anyway,
yes.
Steven,
well played.
So I had a gentleman named Steven that
was he well compensated?
I don't know. He wanted to start investigating. He wasn't able to travel with us at all because he has an ill wife. But he offered to just start watching video.
Sweetest guy ever.
Oh yeah, super nice guy.
And that's a good setup.
And I was like, I mean, if you want to, it's boring. He never found really anything.
But that's because he was objective about stuff.
Yeah, which is fine. But that was kind of nice.
The thing with video evidence is so rare.
It's very rare.
I mean, that's the other thing where I'm like, and then we got, and I think we've talked about this before. Sorry, it's been 12 episodes. We're going to repeat ourselves because we don't remember, but we came to kind of a conclusion where, I think we talked to this on the equipment, where if you have too much out there, you might get less back anyway.
Yeah.
So, we quit doing with the cameras everywhere. We just carry one. In fact, if I get nervous in a place, that's my defense. I'll turn it on and start pointing and go on, you're not going to jump out on me with a camera. And if you do, it's worth it.
Right.
Because I'm going to get you on film.
It's worth me soiling myself.
Yep.
So, I'm just thinking about things that people should know if they're going to put together a group. And, you know, we talked about equipment last week, and we kind of gave you an idea of what we use. For our group, everybody kind of has their own equipment. And we don't share it too much. I mean, C Paranormal probably altogether has, 5 K2 meters or more.
Yeah.
I mean, we all have our own stuff. Do you guys do it that way? Or do you have...
I bought the bloody lot. Just because, well, you know, Jeff's got family and he's always got something going on. Nico's a younger kid. You know, and for a while, I own my own business. When I'm doing well, I'll just buy something and then buy the wife some flowers. Say, sorry, I pushed the buy button. I meant to add to the list. Really, I did. And then, you know, so no, I mean, a lot of it I bought, and, you know, which is fine because, you know, I'm the one that kind of wants that thing. You know, I mean, the others, at the beginning, they would have been happy just going there having the experience. I'll be honest with you now, though, you know, they can't go without the equipment because, you know, it's through the equipment anymore that you have the experience. Yeah. For example, the EMF meter we got, the Trifeld, we've had no luck with it. I was almost ready to write it off, but we take it anyway. It's been bought. It doesn't hurt putting it out. And then that one time at the Granger House when it was sitting on the table and it just spiked like crazy. We're like, what in the world? You know, we hadn't moved it, sitting on the table. And then Nico took a cell phone picture of it, and his cell phone picture came out as just wavy lines.
Yeah, that was weird.
Yeah, you can see that picture on our social media sites.
So I was like, it's a North Korean shooting us with a microwave gun or something, you know? It's like, what in the world is that?
And actually,
so
you know, you mentioned that happened about around 4:30, between 4:30 and 5 o'clock in the morning was when that.
It happened twice. It happened once about 11-ish. 11:30, I think that's the one, because Nico didn't stay the whole night. So I think that one with the picture was about 11:30, and then me and Jeff were sitting there at 4:30 when we were going to start going around again, because we were like 4:30, they work on a farm, time for them to get up, maybe we'll try that, and then that's when it started going off again. Like, it spiked like crazy.
So we had a team at the Granger House last weekend. They called me at 4:30, ready to leave, so I went over there. got over there, talked to them for a little while, and I thought, I've got a K2 laying here. So I went in and put it on the kitchen table. Nothing. So I sat there for a few minutes, waited, asked if anybody can you light it up? And it lit up.
Yeah. So
it lit up to, well, yellow.
And that's the other thing I was saying. Anybody looking to form a group now, it is for a lot of people. I mean, I'm ex-army. I'm used to staggering on all night and and that kind of thing. I mean, I'm getting older, so it's not as easy. But when I do it, I know I'm mentally used to it because I used to do it for a long time. But I found that other people, especially younger people, you gotta stick with it. It's a marathon. You'll turn up at maybe 6, 7, start setting up. You're all full of energy. It's great. You'll get to midnight. You get a second wind. It's midnight. Things are gonna happen. And then about 2 o'clock, I've seen a lot of people, they just hit a brick wall. They go bed down, all this stuff. If you don't do it, I mean, keep going all the way through because you will miss stuff. We've had a lot of stuff that suddenly it's been dead for 4 hours straight, and there's a couple where we said, pack it in because we didn't get anything at all anyway, all the way up to that. But,
But if we would have done that at Squirrel Cage, we would have missed everything.
Yeah, that's what I mean. So, power through it and
That's what those energy drinks are for, my friends.
Don't need energy drinks.
Just cigarettes, and then you'll be fine.
Cigarettes and donuts.
Oh, we're not going back to the donuts.
That's ghost hunting food right there. Because that led to the poo discussion, didn't it?
Yes.
That does bring a good point up, though. Do take food and drink with you. I don't know a single place that won't allow you to have that in there. And if they don't, you should question why you're there in the first place. But, I mean, I think that's important. And that's one thing that probably people don't tell you to bring that you should. So bring water, bring sodas, energy drinks, whatever. Bring snacky stuff because inevitably you're going to get hungry in the middle of the night. And
nobody wants to listen to their recorder and hear
constantly. Because trust me.
All you do as long as it's not someone's stomach. I mean, if it's someone's stomach, I would be like, well, score!
Yeah.
But you will hear people's stomach, and it is a lot louder in a real quiet building than you would imagine.
Yeah, your body does a lot of chemistry.
Yes, it does.
And when your body makes that funny noise, just don't be embarrassed. Just own up to it. Yep, that was me. Oops.
And that's another thing that I think we've talked about that I'm really proud of Steve Paranormal because we do an excellent job as a whole claiming our sounds. Not just bodily, but,
That was Adam.
If you bump something, say that was me. If you are digging in your bag for something, say I'm digging in my bag. Because when you go back and listen to that, you won't remember who's doing what and what that noise is. And it might sound like something exciting when in fact it really isn't. So we've made a really good habit of doing that, almost to the point where it gets a little bit annoying after a while, but at least we're doing it. So I'm really proud of us for doing that.
Well, on top of that, you got to do a running commentary anyway, or at least we do. So yeah, we do the same thing. But also, if something weird happens,
for sure,
we'll give it a few seconds, and then we'll say, "Hey, this just happened. Check this on the tape."
For sure.
So when you're going through it, if someone doesn't, because it's hard. You might miss it, and then all of a sudden hey, check that.
And at the beginning of every recording, when you push record, say what time it is and what date it is, including the year and where you are. Because that'll help you keep all of your recording straight. But also when something like what John just said happened, then you know what time it was. If nobody calls out the time then, and you can go to your other recorders, check the same time, because when you started, so you can kind of correlate everything. You
can also triangulate sounds. So if you pick something up on one recorder, and there's another one kind of close by, you can go over to that one, look at that same time, that time range. If they're on both recorders, it actually happened in space. That's one thing I've noticed. sometimes we'll pick things up, and I got a weird theory about this, but we'll pick up a sound. For example, we were in Edinburgh, and I don't know if I covered this before or not, but we were down sitting in the pool room because we seem to hear a lot down there. There was me and Eric just sitting there, and we heard a voice upstairs that said, "Help me," like an old lady's voice. Creeped me the crap out, but I don't mind. And Eric heard it, and it was on. We had the recording, digital voice recorder going. It was on there, but it came from upstairs. We had a digital voice recorder upstairs. It wasn't on there. So I'm like, okay, how do you explain that? It didn't happen in space.
Sound in that building is very strange.
It's like it projected it to the room we were in, if you know what I mean.
Well, and
from upstairs.
I think
the sound didn't happen upstairs.
That's how it works, actually.
I think it is,
because our hot spot there tends to be the men's kind of lounge area on the second floor. Mm-hmm. And
that's the one above the pool.
I'm sorry, before you... No, yeah, that is where... Yeah. Yes, it is. That's where we heard, I would assume, probably our first disembodied voice, and we heard two that night in very similar situations. So there were 5 of us in a room. It went Chandrell, Adam, me, and then the 2 other women that were with us. At some point, we were getting some type of interaction, and I asked, "Can you tell us your name?" Adam and the 2 women heard the man very clearly say his name. Chandrell and I, who are sitting on either side of Adam, did not hear anything. Mm-hmm. The recorder barely picks up kind of a gruff noise, but you can't understand what he's saying. But the 3 of them heard it so loud and so clear to the point that the other 2 women left. Like, they were done after that.
Nope, we're scared. We're leaving.
I mean,
what are you here for?
Literally.
You leave and come back. You might get bit. I do. I mean, sometimes I'm going to leave for a minute. And then I come back.
The truth of the matter is that they went in skeptical. Mm-hmm. And I know we don't like to use that word.
No, it happened to me the first time.
But they went into it like, this is just silly. And that happened, and they were like, just like you, only they were done. Like, nope. I don't want to know what this is anymore. We're done.
Well, so we got them packed out the door, and we went back up to that room, obviously. So now it's just the 3 of us, but the 3 of us have got back into the same positions we were before. And again, had some type of interaction where, you can always hear noise up and down the hall. And I forget now what the question was that I had asked. But Chandrell and I very clearly heard a woman standing in the doorway, and she went, but it was that loud. To Chandrell and I, Adam didn't hear it, who's sitting right between us.
And I admit I'm deaf. But...
Now, that got caught on the digital voice recorder. But so we had 2 disembodied voices that night, that not all, and none of us collectively heard it. So I agree. I think that it's a projection almost.
It is. And that's I mean, there's a lot of things, if we actually hear an actual voice, a lot of EVPs you don't hear. They just happen on the recording device, which, if you're going to use the theory of electromagnetism, that's how they use it, that's how a microphone works, that's how they do it. That's fine. But an actual voice that you can hear in the air, I mean, that's a whole different...
And that building's full of them.
Yeah, and that's a whole different, I mean, I guess you could use the same if they can use electromagnetism, the same as a microphone, that's how a speaker works too. So, if they can just vibrate air, just enough in a certain spot, I don't know. I mean, I try to work on a physics theory because they are interacting with the physical world. But it's good that we do that because... if we get those kind of ideas, we can try and rig something up where we can catch it and document it instead of just an anecdote of, well, I was sitting there and I heard a voice.
Right.
That's no good to anybody apart from yourself.
Yeah.
I mean,
because that's happened a lot too, where you'll hear a voice or you'll hear even something clear as day, and there's a digital voice recorder sitting right there, and it doesn't pick it up.
Well, like our scream on the Queen Mary.
Yeah.
I can't even tell you how loud and clear that was, especially for me, Adam, and the guide. Mm-hmm. The other lady said she heard it. I'm not convinced she did. But even amplified all the way I can get that recording, you can still faintly hear it, enough to where Adam and I both listened to it today and still get chills. But if I were just to play that for any of you, even amplified all the way, I don't even know if you would catch it. It's that faint. But at the time, it was louder than the music I've got playing in the background.
Yeah, and so here's the thing. So let's say they can use...
Hashtag.
Here's the thing.
Shot! Just kidding.
Yep, whoever's listening. I'm your friend. So if they can do a speaker effect, I mean, and it's a singularity, it's a point. I mean, if it's right by your ear, like that screen, if they pop it right by your ear, for example, it's going to be like loud to you, but it's not very loud,
right.
And your DVR's not going to pick it up. So, you know, that's my working theory at the moment.
And Hans Holzer called those psychical experiences, which is one of his excuses why the Lutz family experienced what they did and at 112 Ocean Avenue and nobody else did was because they were having a psychical experience, which is a whole nother episode for another day. I'm just throwing that out there.
That's rather a broad explanation.
It is, but it kind of makes... I mean, if you are going to buy into Amityville, it kind of makes sense. They're being led to... Oh, psychical experience?
Yeah, I mean...
Yeah.
I got pushed down the stairs. Oh, it was a psychical experience. I heard a voice, a psychical experience. Anything to do with ghosts, a psychical experience.
You know, they made George feel like the front door got blown off the hinges and blown to pieces when in reality it didn't, but that's what they made him see and experience. Psychical experience. Anyway, we'll talk about Amityville someday.
I told you my coffee machine incident with Amityville.
No.
I never said that one yet?
No.
When I was in Germany in the service, this is when Amityville came out, I watched it on TV. And I'd read the book, and then I watched it on TV one night.
Still one of my favorite books.
And I woke up at that time, like 3-something.
Yeah.
I was like, oh, that's weird. But then I looked, and I had to be on guard duty. I'm like, well, it's a good job I didn't wake up, because I got like 2 hours where I have to leave, so I might as well just go down. I went downstairs, 2 red lights looking at me through the window. I was like, what? I jumped out of my skin. And then the rest of my brain kicked in.
It's Jody.
The coffee machine was on, so I got a red light, and it was double glazing. So the red light was reflecting twice in the window.
That's funny.
So I woke up at that time, and I'm like, that's weird. Go downstairs, there's 2 red eyes looking at me through the window. I'm like, ah! Ugh.
That's funny.
I quit.
Another piece of advice I have for people who are just getting started is don't be afraid to talk about just bullshit. I think we went into it thinking that it had to be like what you see on TV where you need to be professional the whole time and you need to be talking about the experience the whole time and it all needs to be paranormal. When I have found, and I think we've all talked about having a similar experience, when you're talking about things that are non-related to what you're currently doing, sometimes that's when you get the best evidence.
Yeah, it's like they join in sometimes.
Well, and it's kind of like you talking about taking your recorder outside.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm sure you guys weren't talking about the investigation probably at all. You were just enjoying a smoke and doing your thing.
We try and sit to around 20-minute sittings and stuff like that. If you go too long, we found, at least for our group, attention starts to wavy, you start thinking about other things and this and that. So we do, 20 minutes on, 20 minutes off, 20 minutes on, 20, roughly is what it works out to be.
We used to do, we used to do hour vigils. So, especially if we split into groups, go do our hour vigil, come back and talk about it and take a break. And that usually lasts for about half an hour or so. But in that hour, what we would typically do is, 5 minutes of quiet time, just experiencing the building and its sounds. And then we would do an EVP session, and then we would do a ghost box session. I think we have kind of started to fall away from that pattern a little bit, not being so strict with it as we used to be. But at least, and there are, I think, benefits to both ways. Sometimes you just have to wing it. Other times, if you're doing things the same way each time, it just kind of, you can go back and say, look, I do it this way every time, and this is what I'm getting, kind of like with John's experiments. But you do things the way you want to do. That's just kind of
works.
Yeah. How does your group decide where you're going to go investigate?
the hardest part isn't where we're going to go, I guess. It's when everybody's got time. Once we can figure out, a date, then we go look and see who's open on that date. So, we did get a call, I got a call the other night from someone asking if we do private investigations because stuff's going on. I said,
really?
And the thing is, they called me right between service calls. I said, no, we're happy to do it. They want to know how much we charge. I'm like, no, we don't charge. And if anybody does try to charge it, just tell them no.
Yeah, they're ripping you out.
Yeah. So I said, when they found us through our website, I said, there's a contact us thing on the website. Fill that in, send it to me, and then I'll get back to you. So
very cool.
I'd like to do more of those, but I think they're a double-edged sword in that you're going to chase. A lot of them you're going to be chasing people's mental ghosts more than you're going to be chasing real ghosts. But it's fun to do. Go somewhere that no one's ever been and shotgun it and see, if you are going to pick something up. So.
And we tend to try to go places people haven't been before, but not residences.
Yeah.
But that's, for us, and we've talked before in previous episodes, we enjoy the commercially haunted locations like Edinburgh, like Farrar.
I love Edinburgh, yeah.
Oh, for sure. But there's something about buildings that aren't the ones that you see on TV. Granger House being one, of course. I like finding, I drive Adam nuts because when we go places, I am constantly picking up the road guides from any of the locations we're at that tell you everything that you can do in that area, because a lot of times it'll talk about some historical locations that are in that area, and those are the places that I like to reach out to, much like the Granger House, because sometimes they'll let you in, sometimes they won't, sometimes you can talk them into it, but sometimes there's some diamonds hidden amongst.
I'd love to do that. I suck at sales. I've never been. I mean, I'm okay with it if I know the people, but cold calling kind of thing, I don't do it. I can't do it. I just.
So usually how we do this is Sarah emails them, and then when we start getting some type of good response and it's time for a phone call, that's where I step in.
Listen, every job that I've ever had, I think, has required me to be on the phone for my profession, which means I hate talking on the damn phone.
I don't mind doing the phone call, but it's the initial contact stuff.
Oh, I don't mind.
I hate doing that.
Oh, I've been yelled at and hung up on.
Yeah, that's what I don't want to do.
That was fun. By a French guy.
Ah!
Who his friends gave us his information.
Yeah.
Interestingly. He owns a building that used to be the insane asylum in Elkader, Iowa.
And I'll call him up.
He runs a, I can get his number.
I'll speak German to him. It might get a bit more intimidating. We will come over and support us again.
Yeah, and he just owns a beverage distribution company. So really, he has an office there, which I told him, we're not going to go in your office. The warehouse area that you have set up, all we need is access to it for a night. Mm-hmm. You'll never even know we're there.
Apart from a few empty bowls.
Yeah. We had a good night. How you doing? And he was just like, I don't know. I don't even know what all he said, and he hung up on me. I'm like, okay, I guess that's a no.
Yeah. Calm down, Henri.
I think that when you're getting started, it's okay to start out going to places that you see on TV. And I still encourage people to do the public investigations because there are some things that you can gain from that. Number one, sometimes people do things differently than what you're used to, and you can pick up some good pointers. Sometimes you can try out equipment that you wouldn't normally have access to because somebody brought it. Sometimes this is a building, for example, the St. Joseph Hospital, we never would have gotten in there by ourselves had we not gone with the group. And it wasn't ideal, but I didn't think it was the worst thing aside from the one time Adam and I got yelled at for straying too far, even though we were told we could have access to the whole floor, but whatever. We largely got to...
access to the whole floor, except over there.
Right. We largely got to investigate on our own. Now, it's not ideal for doing, EVPs, because even... it never fails when you are in a large group area and you hear a voice and you say out loud, hey, did somebody just say something? Did one of you just say something? Literally nobody will answer you. It's much like investigating with Nico. Where, and I say, I'm talking to Levine, anybody over there say anything? And nobody will ever respond to you. So who knows? I mean, you never know. And that kind of sucks. But especially if you're getting started, those can be a really good way of doing it. If you can get into a place like Waverly Hills on a group investigation, that sometimes that's more cost effective too. So
yeah, but I will say, I mean, I haven't been on a massive who does them Haunted America. I think who's the big guys that always do those?
I have not been on theirs, and I've heard not good reviews from them, but I do believe that is one that does it.
So I've seen spaces is limited, and then when you look at actually how many they're taking, you're like, oh my god, how do you fit that many people into a building? Mm-hmm. And then when you look, it's $100 a ticket to go to Edinburgh. I'm like, well, I can rent the whole thing for $250.
Right.
And you're taking 30, 40 people in. I mean, so that's always kind of turned me off. I like going to those places. I also look on their website where they're going, because if they let them in, they might let me in when they haven't got a big store going. Yeah. So, that's, I haven't been, and the other thing is, I don't like, unless I know you or trust you or whatever, I don't like strangers hanging around when I'm trying to do a ghost investigation. I don't know why that is. I guess I'm not really a social person, to be honest with you. When I meet people for the first time, I stay back a bit. And, it takes a couple of times for me to start.
You're an observer.
Yeah, so I'm always kind of on edge with new people around anyway. I can't get on and do things the way I want to do them.
And it just occurred to me, you said Haunted American, that's Troy's. So no, Troy's stuff is good.
I don't know. That's what I said. I can't remember what they're called.
Troy Taylor's is, there's a group that has a very similar name. I can't think of what it is off the top of my head right now either. And they often go to Edinburgh and Farrar, and I've heard very bad things because they do shove a lot of people in there.
Yeah.
Troy Taylor's group, which I believe is called Haunted America.
Troy, something like that.
They probably still do a large group, but I think we've talked to Troy before about, they do try to keep them to normal sized group so that people aren't walking all over one another. And
that's the other thing, if we're talking about putting a group together, try and keep it small.
Yeah.
I think we've got 4. For me, that's ideal. I don't mind 6, maybe 7. But you got to remember, a lot of places you go to aren't that big. Mm-hmm. Like if you go to the Axe House, 4 was too many. Mm-hmm. It's so. And if you get a team, not the public events, but the actual, I call them circuit places you can rent for the night. That have a calendar. You go to the website, see what dates they go. You pay your money, and off you go. Those are excellent for honing your team and what you're gonna do, so that you're ready.
And sometimes you can find team members at those things too.
Not if you're the only one. Well, I mean, I don't know. I don't go on the public ones, but.
But you'll find, if you don't have any friends who are involved in the paranormal, that can be a way for you to meet new people who have similar interests as well.
Or, if I was on my own and I really, really wanted to go do it, I'd look at local groups around me and say, hey, take me on as an intern or a probie or whatever you want to call it, and go do it with an established group. That way, if you like what they're doing, hopefully you can stay with them. But you also, doing it that way, you also get access to their equipment too without having to buy it. Mm-hmm. And then, I don't know. I've like I say, we've taken people on ghost hunts and, we've done it with you guys. So I've seen, how other people do it. The other thing is, at the beginning, I watched a lot of YouTube groups, how they do it. And that put me off. I was like, hell no, and also, they're going on the big public things. And I'm like, there's people just shambling around with a K2. And I'm like, what are they even doing? So that kind of put me off personally. just because of the way I come at it. But, other people, try it.
Yeah. No, and, the flashlight tours, which are the Granger House's version of a public investigation, we keep them rather structured. So we don't let people just roam around until afterwards, and then, you can ask if you can have access to the house for a little bit or whatever. But we try to keep it relatively structured so that people aren't interrupting one another and that you're all experiencing the same thing, which is why we keep it limited to 20 people. That way you've got 10 in each group, which is still a very large group for the size of the house, but it still works. You're still getting a good sized group in there. And in my opinion, I don't feel like 10 is too many. I wouldn't go any more than that.
No, but, and plus, I guess, for an event where you have to have volunteers present, for anywhere, you can't also only have 5 in a group because it's not worth it, So, and things like that, like I say, they're good preppers, they're good, just because I'm not a social person doesn't mean the people in those groups aren't. So I've been to one and I've watched, they interact with each other, they talk with each other, and it's a good thing,
Mm-hmm.
It's not, I would guess, and I don't mean to, it's not a true investigation as such, because it's too polluted, but it is it's a good prepper, and they were having experiences on the one that I went to at the Granger House. So it's good for people that go there to actually, they want an experience, they get it. So me personally, I'm coming at it from a different end. I'm coming in from the, the non-believer side. It's not that I don't believe, it's just, and some people are coming in from a believer side, they'll get a lot more than I will, because for me, I want it structured, ordered, no pollution, and for me, those don't work as well. They're still fun.
Yeah.
I'm just not a social person. But other people, it'll work a lot better. Like Nico and Jeff, they love that kind of stuff.
Sure. So, eventually, we should do, and maybe next episode, kind of continue on from this one and talk a little bit more in depth about the process that we actually do our investigations in, because there's a lot of things that we didn't talk about, like trigger objects and, Singapore effect and those kinds of things, how we feel about them if we do them. So maybe we'll cut this conversation off here and kind of go on next week a little bit more in depth with the actual investigation part. Do you guys have any last advice for new groups? Wear comfortable clothes. Don't wear flip-flops.
Yeah, definitely do not wear flip-flops. No, that's terrible.
Don't wear cords.
To me, the number one thing is have an aim, have a goal, have something that you actually want to do when you go. And that could be anything, just from having fun. My first one, I just want to have fun, night out. Wouldn't get a hangover from it. I was good.
Yeah.
So, but have an aim and look at if you got what you went for, that's great. And then think, when you go do the next one, do you want the same? What do you want out of each investigation? And if you actually are investigating, and I sound like a snob, I don't mean to, but some people go there for the experience, and that is just fine.
Well, I think
if you're going to investigate,
comes down for knowing why you're doing it.
Yeah, if you're going there to actually investigate, then like any investigator, you're trying to find something out. Figure out what it is. Take baby steps. What is it that you're actually trying to find out this time? Mm-hmm. And that's an important part, this time. And for us, the first time we go, this time is it haunted? That's our first step. And then after that, it's baby steps. Okay, we're getting this, we're getting that. So next time we go, what are we looking for this time?
Sure.
So for me, number one advice is have a goal when you go.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. I got nothing for advice right at the moment. I'll think of something in a minute, though. We'll put it back on there.
Wear flip-flops.
No, definitely do not wear flip-flops.
Wear flip-flops if your toes are painted.
Don't wear corduroy.
If you've got toenails like me, do not wear flip-flops.
Don't wear jogging pants.
No.
Like the slicky pants. Yeah, the slicky pants, because they're... And everybody's going to think it's a noise.
This is a terrible story, but there was one time where we were with a group of people and I was reviewing our audio and I really thought we had caught something, and then on further looking into it a little bit further, it was a female's thighs running together.
Making her jeans make noise.
Really?
Yeah.
Yeah. I was really annoyed because it was really cool and I really thought we had really got something like this eerie, like...
Okay, here's a question.
And I'm like...
How did you determine it was female thighs?
Pictures.
You took pictures of female thighs?
Well, no, we had just looked at pictures of the group.
And listening to it a little bit further and realizing that we were walking every time we heard it.
Did you do experiments to
No,
double check?
but we realized that we were... We realized that when we were hearing it, one time was going up the stairs, one time was walking down the hallway, and we were always walking. We were always moving, and then it dawned on us what it was. Mm-hmm.
Very disappointing.
Very disappointing. Yeah.
Well, actually, I will say, also keep your eyes open all the time, because when I was coming here, I did see a baby ghost.
You did?
I did.
Where did you see baby ghost?
Coming out on my sidewalk.
Okay, keep going.
And then when I did a double take, it was a handkerchief.
Yeah. There was something.
Oh, my piece of advice for everybody is try not to go into any location, even if it's one that's been on TV, with any preconceived notion of what you're going to experience. Try just to let things happen the way that they happen. Don't go into Edinburgh and say, the Joker's going to jump out and scare me in the basement, because you're going to be really disappointed and you're going to want your money back.
I'm Batman.
We kind of let TV ruin Waverly for us for a little bit, and I had put myself in check. Remind myself I was not on a TV show, so. All right. Oh, sorry, go ahead.
No, I'll be honest. The other thing is even this is the hardest part. If you have a belief system, leave it at the door.
Yeah.
So, Oh, one thing we didn't cover.
Yeah.
I know we're trying to wrap up, but this is when you're putting your group together.
Yeah.
A lot of groups have psychics.
We don't.
No, we don't. But if you want to be objective, got nothing against psychics, but what you are really doing is psychics aren't proven. As far as, first you got to figure out, okay, how do psychics work? Which nobody's done yet. How does that work? And if you use a psychic to try and investigate, and this is just me, you don't have to agree with me. Yep, this is just me. But think about if you're using a psychic to prove ghosts. You're using an unproven method to prove something that's unproven. If you're going to use them... The other thing I've seen, personally, is psychics can prep the group and start putting things in their head. Now, if you're going to use them, it's fine to say, this room, try this room. But anything they get, names, anything like that, just have them write it down and keep it till after you've done the review, and then use those notes to what you found in the review. If they match up, that's great. But if you do it before the review, you turn on a spirit box and they've given you a name, you are going to hear that name come out of the spirit box. You can't help it. It's just the way your mind works. So that's my advice there, kid. Nothing against psychics, but keep them.
See, we use Brian periodically and kind of as another tool. So he may tell us something. For example, when we went to Waverly, he said that he had contact with Sandra. So we tried to make contact with Sandra, but we did not focus our entire investigation around her. It was just an added piece to the bigger puzzle. So I agree to a point.
I know,
but
it was just a note.
Yeah, no, I absolutely. I don't make that the center of your investigation, and don't make that your only lead on anything. I mean, even the greatest psychic, I think, is still just another tool.
Yeah.
That sounds wrong, but you know what I'm saying.
No, it's
Psychics.
Brian, I do not think you're a tool.
You're a tool!
Really...
That's like a human K2 meter. I mean, you know. No, I mean, I guess I just wanted to bring that up because, like I say, I've studied a lot of groups on YouTube and also looked at their pages when I was doing research, and, you know, some of them have like 3 or 4 psychics on the group.
Really?
And I'm like, oh my God, and you guys, how do you all get your stories straight? You know? So, and they argue. You can see them argue. Here's the thing. Look, here's the thing. Hashtag, here's the thing. If you watch objectively a lot of YouTube videos where they have 1 or 2 psychics, you know, they will start off totally different. They will be talking out loud, and then suddenly they'll start agreeing with each other, and on the other end, when you're coming out, they'll have both have heard and seen the same thing.
That's always my concern, is
that they didn't at the beginning.
Yeah.
Right.
So, just be wary.
I agree. All right, on that note, let's do our picture of the week. So, this is another Mikayla special. This was taken in Belvoir Winery, apparently in 2015. I thought it was later than that, but. So, there are 4 different buildings at Belvoir. An old folks home, a hospital, orphanage, and something else that I'm missing. This particular building was where the orphanage was, and there are several rooms like the one on the other side of the door that we're looking at that don't have a floor. So that's why you couldn't go in the door, and that's why the door is shut. So Mikayla took a picture, and the picture the boys are looking at right now is the original picture. Now, when we first saw this, it appeared to us that something was peeking out the bottom slat. So we showed it to another group who happened to be on that investigation and asked that they had been doing it for a lot longer than we had at that time and asked for their opinion. And they changed they put some filters on it, I guess, to get a different look at it. And they determined that they thought that there was possibly an anomaly in the bottom slat as well. They didn't commit to thinking it was a ghost necessarily, which is fair. And I'm not asking anybody to either. But we always just kind of say it's a little boy looking out the slat. So I'm going to include the pictures that they did when they changed the filter on it. One of them is kind of a negative-y fill. And they said that there was nothing in the top, which we had never thought that there was anything in the top. But they did come back and think, like I said, that there was possibly a face in the bottom one. So that's the original. Now, I had Adam turn the light off because sometimes it's easier to see in the dark. It's kind of a dark picture. And to be honest, we had blown it up and put it on canvas to show people, and it's not nearly as clear as it is when it's just a regular small picture. And perhaps even on the TV screen, it's too big. But I mean, I can see what we saw now. I don't know, John, are you seeing anything?
No, I can't.
That's
say
okay.
Pareidolia.
And it very well could be. I just, this was.
Well, I guess where I'm coming to my conclusion is due to the size of the doorknob and the plate, to the size of the head. And then if you go back to so doorknob, plate, size of head, distance to floor. I don't know. It'd have to be someone who's so small that they probably couldn't stand up anyway, like a toddler. I think. I might be totally wrong. It's just my initial kick.
Yes.
You kind of give some input here?
Well, like I said, I think it's a lot clearer just on the original photo myself, because when it's turned into the black photo, I find it hard to see, honestly. I've always wondered about this photo. Like, I know from being there, from first-hand experience, that, there's no floor in that room. Like, I know that, I remember that. That's why you can't go in there, and it's locked up. And this was the orphanage area. Could there have been a small child peeking out the doorway? Sure. Could there be a raccoon looking out that doorway? Maybe. I mean, it's tough to tell. We didn't hear anything at the time, but you can kind of see the outline of an eye, two eyes. One's wider than the other, and possibly a nose in the middle. So.
No, Mikayla did only unfortunately take one picture. I always encourage people, when you're taking pictures, take 3 for comparison's sake. She was just getting started with us, and I think she was mostly just taking a picture of the door.
Yeah.
It didn't really.
And there was no.
But that's when you get your good stuff.
Yeah, I'm not opposed to saying this is pareidolia. I don't know what it is. I think there is something there, whether it's paranormal or just something that I made to look like a face. I don't know. But I do think there is a thing there. It could be insulation for all I know. You know, I don't know. I don't know what it is, but I mean, I saw the face immediately when they shared it with me. And a lot of people don't, and that's fine too. I think our cat picture is stronger than this one.
Oh yeah. That one kind of freaked me out a little bit. I was like, I hate it when I can't explain things.
But I do like this picture. I think it's kind of mysterious and interesting, and that place is a really great place to investigate too. I will tell you that you will not be able to privately investigate it. The owners, and I shouldn't say that. You can privately investigate it, but you have to take their house group with you, so it'll never be just your group. And I think that there's only like 4 dates a year, or there used to be, that you could choose to do those investigations with that group. Otherwise, you're basically going to have to do a group investigation, a public investigation. We went with Strange Escapes, which is Amy Bruni and Adam Barry's group, and they did a really good job. Plus, it's just fun to get to investigate with people you've seen on TV. They were really funny and great to investigate with, and very knowledgeable as well. But yeah, Strange Escapes still goes here, so if you can get on with them, I know a lot of other groups do public events here as well. The reason I like Strange Escapes though too is because they had, speakers and a very nice organized weekend, where sometimes you go to public events and it's very far from organized.
Herding cats.
Yes, it's exactly what it's like. But Strange Escapes does a very good job of keeping everything organized, and they're a little bit pricier, but it was an enjoyable experience. We got to meet Chip Coffey, which he didn't investigate with us, which is fine. And then Dave Schrader, who you will see currently on Holzer Files on Travel Channel, I believe. And he's also been on Ghost Adventures a few times, and used to be the part of the duo that made up Darkness Radio. And they may have a podcast of Darkness Radio now, I don't know. But when the first time we went to Palmer House, or the only time I guess that we've been at Palmer House, was with Strange Escapes, Darkness Radio as well. So this is the second event we've been to with Dave. And he's funny. He pet my face randomly for no reason.
Yeah, that was entertaining.
So my husband just randomly pets my face periodically.
Because it's entertaining.
It was weird. Like, he was just, like, talking and then just, like, walked up to me and started petting my face. And I was like, we're strangers.
Yeah.
What are you doing? Okay, so we'll chalk this up to question mark. I'm okay with that. I still like the picture. I think it kind of is a creepy picture for a creepy building. So if you can get there sometime, do. I'll remind everybody that the month of October at the Granger House is really busy, and we've got good Lord, we're seeking paranormal. Something Wicked This Way Comes. By the time you have heard this, last week will have been WTF Investigations, talking about the haunted Granger House.
We were very good.
I bet they were. I would suspect that the 11th is going to probably be me talking about the real stories behind some of our most beloved horror movies. The third Friday of the month will be Jason Haxton, who is one of the original owners of the Dybbuk box. We're so excited to have him because it's going to be great. And then the series will be wrapped up with Miss Ann Rogers talking about grave robbers. So that's going to be really exciting as well. And I will say we've already got our first event for Something Wicked This Way Comes 2020. And we will be having Chad Lewis talking. We don't have a topic nailed down yet, but he will be presenting. Well, he does lots of various different topics, so we could do Haunted Iowa, although I would like to hear him kind of narrow it down, but, so we don't have a topic yet, but we do have some books, so that's exciting. Anyway, if you want to catch up with everything that John is doing, you can find him on Facebook at WTF Investigations, as well as YouTube, and then don't forget they have a website, WTFinvestigations.com. You can find me on Facebook at C Paranormal Sarah. It's SEE Paranormal Sarah with an H. And then, of course, the three of us are on Seeking the Paranormal on Facebook and Twitter. And then, here's our big announcement for the night. I am going to start a Seeking the Paranormal Goodreads account. So if you want to see what John and I are reading or books that we recommend, that will be the place to do it. So until next week, my friends, keep seeking out the paranormal.
Thank you for listening, and be sure to follow Seeking the Paranormal on Facebook at Seeking the Paranormal, and also on Twitter at Seeking the P.